Okay, so this is just for fun to kind of show the model a little bit, the visual representation, conceptual version of our model. Uh, it's kind of cool how I've created this ice wall. From the camera's perspective, you can't really see it, but there's a circle, a livable circle that the sun and the moon travel around magnetic north. And right where the lasers are pointing is basically close to the geographic north that magnetic north would move around, which I believe is probably the location of the Rupus Negra, Mount Zion, the Tree of Life, Mount Meru. There's a lot of different names for it, but I think that's kind of where the central point of the realm is. And then we have our magnetic north that moves around it. The ice wall is represented by what you see lit up, which is interesting how the light wraps all the way around it. Down here, I don't really believe in a black sun or anything like that. I don't think, because I'm a biblical cosmologist and the scriptures tell us what's underneath, and they tell us it's the bottomless pit, the foundations, the fountains of the deep, the great abyss, the lake of fire, Sheol, hell, Tartarus, whatever people want to call it, and even Abraham's bosom, which was paradise, is down there as well. And then you have the four pillars and kind of the square, and then the circle of the earth on the square, and then the celestial dome, rakia, toroidal shell, whatever people want to call it. But I believe this is a good conceptual model. This is using the moon map theory, which I think is a very good theory, a decent theory. I think it's viable and it can explain a lot of stuff, and I don't see how it doesn't work, and I don't see how it's unbiblical. So out of all the different models, I personally ascribe to it more so than any of the others. But what that means is the other lands that people talk about are currently all under ice, whereas our livable circle inside the Antarctic ice wall is the only area that's livable, and that livable circle moves around the larger circle every 26,000 years, which would be a great year cycle, and explain quite a few of the phenomena that we see or know about, in my opinion. But this is the model. This is kind of how I've been. You can see the star field that's projected in, it's rotating in. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure if you can or you can't. Maybe if it was a little darker, you probably could see it better. But once I get everything projected in, and my idea is to actually create a holographic projection from the base up into the model that mimics not only the oceans, the lands, the luminaries, and all that, but to get it to where you can flip a switch and make it follow those cycles of an annual cycle, and even see eclipses happen live within the model. That's kind of my goal, to get it there. I would love to get it to where I could submerge it underwater at the same time and demonstrate tides, demonstrate how Noah's flood occurred, and how the recession of the flood occurred, and just lots of different things. But there's a long way to go before I get to those points, and it's taken a long way to get to where I could just demonstrate individual phenomena within the model. But doing things like this, playing with the lasers and different light sources and Tesla coils and magnets and mirrors and prisms, and just making little moons and suns out of different things, spherical suns, concave moons, spherical moons, luminescent moons, non-luminescent, transparent, translucent, opaque, doing all those things and playing with them and moving them around and seeing how they function within a dome type scenario, and seeing how that influences the light, and recording all of that and pondering that, and going outside with the telescopes and the cameras and taking flights and observing these things from different altitudes, different times of year, different phases for the moon, eclipses, solar and lunar, from high altitude, from low altitude, with telescopes, with thermal cameras, with the P950 and different filters like infrared and thermal filters and neutral density filters, and just doing all of that stuff has really taught me a lot. It's been very fun. But what I've learned is, so far, there's nothing that the concept of a toroidal field with some sort of dome type shell cannot account for, as far as what we observe the lights in the ceiling above us doing. And in fact, it can account for all of it, every bit of it. There's nothing that this concept of a celestial dome created by a toroidal shell, toroidal field, whatever people want to call it, whether that's solid or it's not solid and it's just some sort of barrier, we don't know. But the way that influences light and presents light is a viable answer to everything we observe and see in real life. And I stand behind that 100%. But I think the model looks really cool like this. I think it looks really cool when I've got the nebula and the galaxies and the moon and the sun projected into it. When I submerge this in the pool and do this and shoot the red, green, and blue into one spot, which are like pure light basically, that's trying to get the RGB spectrum all into one central point. It's amazing at when it's submerged how it creates this field of stars that look very much like what we see outside. And there's just so much about this model that when put in different ways and different scenarios to model these different things, it does so with astonishing accuracy and just astounding mimicry as far as down to the fine details. Like even when I do my solar eclipse demonstrations, I can get not only the ring of fire, I can get the annular, but I can get the diamond ring effect, the Bailey's beads effect. And that's just assuming two light sources interacting within a dome structure. And matter of fact, my solar ring of fire demonstration, I included my mimic superfluid ceiling, which really helps kind of visualize the way I think it looks, which I don't have that in here now. I'm probably going to add it in and do some videos with it and kind of explain what I mean by that and how I feel like it can mimic what we see with a superfluid. I've even shown videos and posts, even in my presentation recently, of nebulas and galaxies and comets and northern lights or aurora borealis and rainbows that I've mimicked by assuming that superfluid within this celestial dome. But overall, I think this is a good concept. Am I claiming mathematical accuracy and precise to-scale accuracy? No, I've never claimed that. And I will not claim that. As a matter of fact, I think it's better just to say, hey, this is a conceptualized physical model where we can individually demonstrate visually all the claims and observations of the flat earth. And not only that, they match what we see in reality extremely well, down to the fine details. I don't see a lot of people able to do that. I don't see a lot of people who can, in a physical model, demonstrate lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, the Antarctic, the possible 24-hour counterclockwise Antarctic sun, star trails, the simultaneous sighting of Sigma Octantis and the Crux in 3 different locations, all facing south. I don't see that being demonstrated. I can demonstrate what I believe redshift and blue shift actually are within this model. Moon phases, I can demonstrate what moon phases are within this model. So the fact that I'm able to demonstrate all of that visually, and it's very accurate to what we observe in reality, should give at least a little bit of credibility to what this conceptual model demonstrates for us as flat earthers. So hopefully this is cool. I think it's cool, and I'm just going to keep working on it and developing it and making it better and better. I hope to create a custom toroidal shell that really fits a toroid much better than what you're looking at now. And I hope to even kind of finish out the bottom to how the Bible describes it and make that look really cool. But overall, what we can get to happen inside of this model visually, as far as what we observe visually in real life, I feel very comfortable demonstrating most of those things right now in this physical model. So I kind of nerd out on this stuff. I know a lot of people don't really care. They feel like it's pointless, but being lied to about where we live for our entire lives is extremely important. I don't care who you are, is extremely important. And to say that it's not is just weird, because not only have they lied to us and our children, and that dumbs us down and keeps us from truth, they have stolen billions of dollars, trillions probably, from us to lie to us and dumb us down of our own money. They've enslaved us mentally, stolen from us physically, and dumbed us down by doing such, and that is a huge, huge deal. Lying to a person or a living thing, or being negative or lying or basically cursing a living thing for that long creates death. It creates sickness, it creates weakness, it creates mental illness, and we wonder why the state of humanity is the way it is. Well, we've been lied to our whole lives, and that is the key factor to it all. Now, there's a lot of other factors that come into play, but that's the key factor to it all, that lying. If I take two plants and I curse one plant, no matter how well I feed and take care of the nutrient and feeding program of that plant, it's gonna die. Whereas no matter if I take another plant and I speak blessings over it and loving phrases and things like that over it, I can neglect it and it'll still live and do well. We're the same way. The power of life and death is in the tongue, and we are creating life and death by the things we say and the things we allow to influence us coming from what others say. And even things we don't necessarily consciously allow, like being lied to our whole lives. We didn't consciously accept that or consciously allow that, but it has a very, very negative effect on us as individuals and as a society. So this is a huge topic. It is a huge deal, and to say that it doesn't matter is not only apathetic, it's dishonest. So that's my take on it all. I'm gonna keep working on the model. I don't care if people say, oh, he's stupid and he's playing with toys. That's fine, you can say that. I'm out for truth, and I'm out to figure out how to model that truth in a physical model so that we can give visual representations to people that aren't just computer animations. God bless. Jeremiah 33:3, John 3:16, and 3:17.